Hey travel creator, welcome back to The Travel Creator. I'm Laura and I'm a content developer for travel creators, and I help them with repurposing their content, newsletter creation, and I also coach them to make their lives just so much easier. But I also am a reader, and I don't know about you, but I freaking love reading everything. And if you're listening to this, there's a big chance that you always want to continuously learn how to do better or just continuously keep learning. So welcome. Today, I'm going to be sharing with you some of the best books I've ever read that have helped me develop as a content creator. Well, reading is one of the best ways you can do that. And if you're not a reader, you're seriously missing out, but that's a whole nother episode. You can always grab these books I'm about to recommend on audio and listen to them. Listen to them while you're driving or any of that sort of thing. Even if you don't listen to the entire thing, I would encourage you to flip through and find a chapter or a segment or portion of it that sounds interesting to get some advice from. So over the past few years, there have been some books that have just really stood out to me that I'm always recommending to people. And I thought, why don't I just create a podcast episode where I'm recommending them all in one place? And then I imagine this would be something I could update yearly because I just read too much to not have more recommendations for you. And these are books that have really helped me take my content creation to the next level or just my creative journey already, whether that's my own journey or helping creators improve as well. The first author that I can't say enough about is Austin Keelan. I've mentioned this man multiple times on this podcast, but he truly is the best. He has one series that I know of at least, and it's 3 short books in it. And by short, I mean they're maybe 40 pages, and they are square, and they have drawings in them, and they're fun, and they're visually interesting, and they are incredibly inspiring books. I often find myself telling everyone to read them because they're just so good and something you can read in one single sitting. Anything you can read, Google, or get your hands on by this man is worth it. I think I used to follow him on Twitter when that was a thing. The next book I have for you is about productivity guilt, and it's called I Didn't Do the Thing Today by Madeline Dorr. If you're unfamiliar with productivity guilt, it's when you're hanging out relaxing and you get the nagging thoughts like, you should be working on something, shouldn't you be doing this, shouldn't you be doing this? It's the worst. It actually sucks, but it's real, and a lot of people struggle with this. And in her book, Madeline tells us straight up, there's no way that we're going to get everything done. And it's true. And it's a freeing thought. The author, she also tells us that, we're living in a world where we're obsessed with doing. And to be honest, it's ruining us. So if you want to say goodbye to all the stupid productivity advice and finally feel satisfied with your to-do or to-don't list, I recommend picking up this book. I think after reading this book, I became a person who is more like productivity advice is stupid because what works for one person is I feel like it's hard to give blanket productivity advice. And I know I've given some on this podcast before, but I really try and be mindful of you need to figure out what's working for you. And I share instances in what has helped me because they might help somebody else. But I've just gotten really bad at picking up books that are specific productivity based because I'd rather learn how to just do things better and do less of them than learn how to maximize my time. Of course, that's important, but not necessarily everything. Next up is a book that might hit a little too close to home. No pun intended. Of course the pun is intended. What am I saying? It's 100% intended. And the book is called Out of Office, The Big Problem and Bigger Promise of Working from Home by Charlie Warzel and Anne Helen Peterson. One of the best parts of being a creator is working from home, let's just say that, or looking at a mountain or a lake or something like that. But this book shows us that what we think about the office or what we think about work doesn't always have to be the case. What we historically thought about work in the office doesn't have to continue into the future. We have the right to change the ways that we want to be treated about work. It kind of gives quiet quitting vibes. If you recall, quiet quitting was basically employees who were like, you know what, we're actually being treated really shitty, and I'm just going to start half-assing my job now until somebody cares about me at work. Basically, this book gets at the fact that working all day isn't the answer. And I know you know this, but this entire book also talks about our relationship with work, which is important and always evolving. And it's a great one if you're feeling especially frustrated with the state of work or the state of your place in your work. Yeah, there's some things going on in there. I recommend it. The next one is Girl Boss by Sophia Amoruso. Not sure if that's how you correctly pronounce her name. I'm so sorry. But if you are ready to girl boss a little bit harder, I can't recommend this book enough. Here is the book's description for you because it is so damn good. I want you to hear it. This is just one little part of it. Sophia wrote Girl Boss for other women like her, outsiders seeking a unique path to success, even when that path is windy as all hell and lined with naysayers. Dang. She should be on the pod. She should be on the pod. Someone tag her. So this book shows you that to be successful while you're doing, you don't have to know every single thing, but you just have to trust your gut and love what you're doing. And most importantly, you have to know which rules to break. So if you want to get more done and feel good about the way that you're doing it and feel empowered, I highly recommend Girl Boss. The next book I have for you is a sweet little yellow one called Subtract, The Untapped Science of Less by Lydia Colts. And even if you're like me and you hate math, this book is important. Lydia tells us that subtraction is something we're not using enough. We are always continuously adding to-dos to our plate or new projects and new things, but we never consider the stop doing. How freaking powerful is that? We never consider, let's stop doing this, or let's make a list of all the shit we should not be doing. I highly recommend this, by the way. I did this when I was determining what I wanted to outsource. I went through my entire week. I wrote down every single piece of work that I did in front of my computer, and I wrote down whether it was something that required my expertise, if it was something I enjoyed doing, and that helped me determine what to get off my plate, what to stop doing. It's also just fun to see such an up close and personal track of how you spend your working time. It's really interesting. Sometimes scary. Just listen to this quote really quick, okay? From Subtract. Our mental preference for addition, for adding to what's already there, rather than thinking of taking away, is so widespread and strong that we would prefer to accommodate wrong ideas than simply remove them. Mic drop, get this woman. She's so good. Along the lines of doing less, the same goes for our content. We don't have to constantly be adding new ideas or thinking of new pieces of content we should put together. And I'm excited to announce for the first time on this podcast that I am releasing a do-it-yourself content repurposing course. It's going to be available later this fall. And because you are a travel creator listener, you can use the link in my show notes to sign up to hear more about the course. And when you do, I'll make sure you get access to it for a steep discount because I love you. I do. And I think you're doing amazing. And I appreciate your listenership. Speaking of doing less, I can't not mention my all-time favorite book, Essentialism. This book. I tell everybody to read this book. It is mandatory, required reading. You may have noticed in my content or in these podcast episodes, if you've listened before, I like to take the approach of less but better. How can we do less but in a better way? And one of my favorite quotes from this book is, if you don't prioritize your life, somebody else will. And I think it's so powerful, even for content creation. You might have to say no to some things in order to say yes to building your content creator life. And by this, I mean, don't say no to going to dinner with friends because you want to edit the reel. Don't say no to going on this awesome hike because you want to get your blog post out. Be smart. Be smart. You get one life, okay? Don't spend it clickety-clacking the whole time. There are so many powerful tidbits in that book that are just outstanding. If you constantly feel like you have way too much on your plate, we always say all the time, I don't have enough time to do this thing. Or how could I possibly fit this thing? If you are resonating with any of that, this is seriously the book for you. I wish that I had an affiliate link for this book because I want to tattoo all the pages in everybody's arms. Of course, I have to mention to you the genius, Seth Godin. His book, The Practice, is a book that feels similar to Austin Keelan, but Seth is his own genius, and I recommend anything he writes. He has a couple of different marketing books. I love him. This book, The Practice in particular, will help you get out of your head and share your creative work. He even shows us what it entails to take your passion project and turn it into something that's productive and also worth sharing and something that contributes to society, which is all things that we want to do and feel good doing. For all of the creators, do not sleep on this book. I almost forgot to mention to you a specific book that is so damn beautiful. And this one is dedicated to all of my creators who are not readers. I promise you are a reader, you just don't know what you like to read. But this book is beautiful with illustrations and prints that you wish you could just rip out and hang up. And it's called Things Are What You Make of Them. Life Advice for Creatives by Adam J. Kurtz. Adam gets us, okay? He gets us. And it's such an empowering read that reminds you just how freaking creative and good at what you do are. I think as creative people, we often forget how good our creative ideas are and how hard it can be to actually have creative ideas because they just come to us and we don't really realize how awesome they are until somebody points them out. But I want you to let me know on Instagram which one of these books you want to read, or please drop me a book recommendation. And if you're curious, I'm currently reading 10x is Easier Than 2x, which is so powerful. Even after reading a few chapters, I did some drastic things in my business. Drastic, okay? I love that book so much already. I'm also reading Burnout, and I'm reading one last fun summer fiction book called The Second Home. I'm someone who reads too many books at once just because, depends what I'm in the mood for. But let me know what you're reading on Instagram at Travel Content Writing, or tell me which book you want to read from this list. And now it's time for that special little part of the episode where we shout out a creator who is doing something awesome. This week, I'm highlighting my friend, SEO and Pinterest expert, Laurel Vines. And it's so cute how our names are so close together, but she is an absolute beast at SEO and Pinterest. And if you remember a few episodes back when I talked about how I hate Linktree and how I really think it's a disservice for creators, well, I stand by that. And so does Laurel. She created for you a link in bio template for your website, and she's giving it away to my listeners for free. You can grab it in the show notes. It'll be waiting there for you. If you're a creator who is doing something awesome and you want to be featured on the podcast, I've got a featured form for you down below that I would love to shout you out and share with my community the awesome things you're doing. Happy creating, friends, and I'll see you soon.